got your first paycheck, the sense of thrill, excitement, and the independence you can feel running through your veins. Now remember when you fully opened the envelope and saw that your pre-tax income seemed 10 times higher than the amount that was actually on your check? Social Security, Medicare, disability insurance, and income tax are all taken out of every paycheck on a bi-weekly basis, leading to this disappointment all the time. Today, I'm going to talk about the income tax and a new way to approach it. And through the history of the income tax, we will see that the flat tax is a better system in that it's more cost-effective, encourages economic growth, and is more fair than the current system. From the IRS historical timeline, we can see that the income tax was first introduced by President Lincoln in 1862 in hopes of funding the Civil War. This was a progressive tax rate in which income up to $10,000 was taxed at 3% and over $10,000 was taxed at 5%. Naturally, most people don't like giving away their money, so this was met with a lot of opposition. And just 5 years later, the rate was cut, and 5 years after that, it was completely repealed. Over the next 40 years, various forms of the income tax were tried, but each was found unconstitutional or unjust until this man came into office. President Taft proposed and ratified the 16th Amendment, which gave the federal government the right to tax income. It was only applied to about 2% of the population, but it was still the start of modern income tax. Soon after that, America entered World War I, and a highly progressive tax rate was put into place to both fund the war and redistribute the wealth. Also during this time, the Bureau of Internal Revenue Services was greatly expanded, and numerous accountants, lawyers, and economists were added to the payroll. As the U.S. became more wealthy, the tax code in this whole system only became more complex, leading to the IRS, or to an increased IRS. The progressive tax rate, which is what we have today, is a system in which the more you earn, the higher percent of your income you pay in taxes. So if you make $35,000, you pay about 8.5% in taxes. But if you make $550,000, you pay nearly 31%. And some people like this because it gives a sense that lower earners have a better opportunity to get out of poverty. But at its core, it treats people differently based on economic class, which is very contrary to the American ideal. It is also incredibly confusing. This is a picture of the number of pages in the tax code. So, according to Williams, there are 10.1 million words in the tax code, and the simplest form that nearly everyone has to fill out every year is the 1040, and there are 100 pages of instructions on how to do just this one page-and-a-half form. As you can imagine, verifying compliance with all of these incredibly complex regulations takes a new system, and so the IRS costs nearly $11 billion each year and employs 80,000 people to make sure everyone is following these rules, according to the 2018 budget and workforce figures posted by the IRS. As you can see, this system is both monstrous and incredibly expensive, and at the heart of it is unequal. In the American spirit of equality of opportunity, a new tax has been proposed called the flat tax, in which each citizen, no matter their income, pays the same percent of their income in taxes. While there are many advantages, the three main ones are cost, growth, and fairness. Currently, as we've seen, billions of dollars are poured into the IRS, and with the new flat tax, this would become altogether unnecessary. The thousands of pages of the current tax code would be replaced with just a single percent. Also, it has been estimated that 8.9 billion hours are spent in tax preparations each year. people also have to either buy software or hire expensive accountants to make sure that they're in line with all these rules. And this is time and money that would be better spent on a multitude of other things besides doing taxes. Also, the flat tax is proven to boost economic growth. By providing an incentive to be productive for productive economic behavior, this leads to long-term growth of the economy. Because you get to keep more of your income, you're happier, and you're not worried that your work is meaningless because the government's just going to take all of your profits. This growth can be seen in several European countries that have implemented this system, including Estonia, who introduced a flat tax of 26% in 1994. Just 3 years later, the GDP has grown 11.7%, and over the next several years, it grew nearly 10% each year. And as a reference, the American GDP was growing at about 2% per year, so that was significantly higher. A worry with the flat tax is that this will decrease revenue going to the government and take away funding from programs that people are super attached to. But that is not the case, as we can see in Russia, who after implementing a flat tax in 2001, saw a 26% increase in revenue. And they also saw a 6 to 8% GDP growth over the next several years. It has also been suggested that a flat tax will raise long-term savings by 10 to 20%, which would increase it to 1% of GDP, which is good for the economy because people have more money. Finally, the flat tax is more fair. Everyone plays by the same rules. You don't need to hire accountants to cook the books, make sure you get all the loopholes you can, but everyone is treated equally. So if someone makes 100 times the income, they also pay 100 times more in taxes. So there are several things we can all do to move closer to the system. And while this tax is at the federal level, so it's hard to change, and the complete dissolution of a government agency would take a lot of time, there are several things we can do to move closer to it. So if you call this number, you'll be connected to the operator of the U.S. Senate, and after you tell them your zip code, they'll direct you to your Senate's office, and you can make your case for why tax should be reformed. Also, you can sign this petition, and with just your name and email, you can let your voice be heard. And finally, and maybe most importantly, I encourage you to talk to your friends. Everyone hates paying taxes, but thinks the current system we're so deep into the current system that it's the only option. But I think together we can work towards a more simple process. So in conclusion, after the income tax was first introduced in 1862 to fund the Civil War, and through the various repeals and replacements, taxing has become a part of modern society. But we know there's a better system. The flat tax is more cost-effective, more encouraging of economic growth, and is more fair than the current system. So the next time your friends or family complain about taxes, remind them there's a better system. So I leave you with this quote from Benjamin Franklin. In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. Well, I think
it's like fair isn't it? We won't pay those taxes.
Right.
I was curious, like, how that would affect government.
We got to realize that most of the tax burden is on those that are uber rich. That's 33%. If now you get all the people paying instead of just the 1%, it's obviously going to go up.
It is. I saw some stats. The top 1% pays like 90%
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah.
Which in some ways makes sense, but.
So what if you had 10% from 99%? It's going to go up. I tell you, even a better idea than flat tax that I've heard some people say is they said, why don't you just put a tax on goods, and then they're paying for it already. Then that tax that over, like say 5 cents more, then that tax goes in. They don't have income tax at all.
Yeah. In my research, a lot of say, like, the flat tax is a good idea and good in theory, but like in practice it would be hard, even more hard, and then it should be the fair tax.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
But my gosh, let's just change it somehow. Because it's